Hey, Facebook and YouTube, what's going on? Hey, we're double streaming tonight, guys. So, hey, everybody can see this great group out of Denton, Texas. You know, it is, oh my man, every time I start something, my damn phone messes up. I'm sorry, guys.
It's all good.
Hey, Texas Paranormal Recon. Hey, I love that name, dude. I love the recon part about that. I really do. Make me want to go dress up in fatigue and go do some recon somewhere. Hey, but you know what? It's not about me. It's about you guys tonight. Hey, tell the world about Texas Paranormal Recon and then introduce yourselves.
Ricky, do you want to start first?
Well, Texas Paranormal Recon is a paranormal research and reconnaissance group. It's just Scott and I. That's our group. And we've been doing this a few years, and we're always busy.
Always busy?
Always busy.
Wow.
Yeah, your weekends tend to be booked pretty quickly.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, cool. Mr. Perry, tell the world about you.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Scott Perry. I've practiced Wicca. I was Coven Sax Wicca for 40 plus years. I practiced ceremonial magic, Golden Dawn current ceremonial magic since 1991. I've done the psychic medium thing since I was way too young to do it. And doing tarot readings and psychic stuff since I was probably around middle school. And I've done investigations since my teenage years. Worked with different groups, done by myself. And I'm, in all honesty, I'm good about doing multifaceted things. I can be a techie if need be. I can play medium whenever I need to be. But also with my occult background, if a client has something they need to get rid of, I can get rid of it.
Dude, you are a man of many, 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 many trades. I don't know where to start first, so I'm just gonna let you start it first. I mean, I don't know, man. Just go wherever you want to go with it, then I'll just follow you.
I think one thing we could probably comment on, because Ricky and I were talking about this with a friend earlier in the day, is that we tend to get a lot of cases from people that have the universe kind of moves them our directions. Someone's called something up, they don't know what to do with it, and we end up, helping them get rid of things. So a lot of the times whenever people mention like, oh, do you practice anything with a cult? In all honesty, they'll lie about it. And we're like, no, I'm an occultist too. I understand. And oftentimes whenever they lie about it and say they don't do something, the ghost on the Phasma box will actually rat them out. Every time the ghost will flat out go, no, we were summoned. We were summoned by this person.
Okay.
And we can help people that way who are just generally, they don't know what to do with things. Or they encountered some cursed object, or they think they've been cursed or something of that nature. I study many different kinds of magics because you don't really know what you're going to walk into unless you study it and go like, oh, well, this one is a Bruja. I got you. I know what this is. This one's a nice little Santeria hex. Okay, I know what's going on with this little object and how to deal with it. So it's good to have that kind of background, because then we can help out people that might elsewise only know to use sage. So we've often said we're the group that you call when the sage is not working and it's just pissing you off and you need something more. We'll gladly do that more.
We've been very fortunate, and I have, as a learning and training experience with Scott, 90% of the cases that we do, there's absolutely something there. This isn't something that, most of the time when we walk in, we already know, there's something going to be there. This isn't an investigation where we go see if there is something there, we go there to fix it.
Yeah, usually whatever the paranormal thing, if it's really nasty, will kind of introduce itself to us before we go. We'll have something pop up either in our workplace or in our homes or apartments, and we'll just kind of like, oh, we've got a funky case coming on. We may not know what it is exactly, but when we've got some really strange things going down, one's coming.
Yeah, we've had, like I was telling Scott this morning, we must have something coming because my electronics at home and at work are a mess. And I was trying to watch my show last night, and every time I'd hit the volume button, the channel would change and the TV went off every single time.
Yeah.
Or during the witching hour that I call it, around 3 a.m., between 3:30. For a while, we had a huge case, and it actually took us about 7 months to get to that case, because first there was COVID, and then something would be amiss with us or the client, and then one day we're like, you know what, we're going out there today. But for months, my TV would come on, my ceiling fan comes on by itself, the power's off, there's nothing, electrical about it. And or we'll run into an infestation of flies, or things will come on the radio that shouldn't come on the radio, or
that have a certain theme that deals with what we'll find. That one in particular, it was Hellhounds, Crossroads, things like that.
On My Trail by Robert
Jones. Right. And then when we got there, the cursed object in question was a guitar that had a man in a top hat etched on it, Hellhounds, Crossroads, things like that. Things that were in the...
It was insane. That was a bit... okay, so that was probably my most complex case, I think. We had a haunted guitar case. It was in the country. Like I said, it took us about 7 months to get out there.
We should probably say it's haunted guitar and the case was over, not just the case itself haunted.
That's true.
Every time we say it's like haunted guitar case. Okay, gotcha. Yes, the guitar itself, not the case. The case was fine.
There was so much activity at that place. And first of all, this guitar weighed, when we got there, probably weighed about 30 pounds. No way anybody could play a guitar that was that heavy and make it through one song. We had spirits ratting out other spirits, ratting out the people, our clients who were not 100% truthful with us. But, it wasn't anything that we couldn't handle, but it just would have been cool, to say.
Just said what was going
on. We had, I had something growling in my ear, and I could feel the heat of its breath on my ear, and my hair would move. And it was like not a growl of any human or animal that I have ever heard. And at the same time that was going on, Scott was in one of the buildings at the back of the property, and he had stuff going on. And this investigation lasted, 6 hours?
Yeah.
About a 6-hour investigation. But needless to say, at the end of the night, we took possession of that guitar because they wanted it out. And it weighed heavier when we put it in the car. It took 2 grown men to hold that, to get it into the car.
I should probably stipulate I created a talismanic object to kind of wrap the thing up to contain the spirit. So using ceremonial magic to actually bind it so that it would be able to be transported without doing anything to us while we're in motion in the car. And whenever we were trying to wrap it up, it took 2 men holding it while I was trying to wrap it with Ricky, because it was that heavy. And we thought there's no way in hell we can actually get this thing in the car, pick it up, move it around. And then Ricky, about the time that we're getting ready to dispose of it, she picks it up after we've had knocking and banging inside the car. We've had, signs that the spirit was with us. But after the ride back from the location to Denton proper, the guitar was incredibly light by the time we got rid of it. Ricky threw it over his shoulder.
As a matter of fact, when I picked it out of the trunk of my car, I almost threw it behind me because I was expecting this heavy, heavy object, and it was nothing. It was light as a feather.
Wow. That is, dude, that's an amazing story. Scott, you just brought something to my attention here, and I have to ask you. All right, let's go back maybe a couple sentences. Let the world know what the difference is between a coven and a cult.
Oh, okay.
And the world that you are in.
Well, let's go back to the academic use of the word cult. If my background's in political science and English lit and things of that nature. So bachelor's in political science, bachelor's English lit, master's in international relations, terrorism, counterterrorism. In social science, a cult is basically just a small religious group. There's no actual value judgment with it. Now, if you're moving into like the commonplace version of like what a cult involves some form of a leader with mind control, and by that I mean heavy persuasion, involves some forms of coercion and things like that. Covens by their nature are small, so they would classify under the academic technical term for like a cult, like any small religious group would be defined as a cult. Anything that's not a majority religion like Catholicism, Judaism, your big ones that you study in high school. But a cult, as it's understood in its common terms, involves a lot more manipulation. And this is where we always make a large joke among witches, like, what's another word for a coven? It's a disagreement. Because there is no necessary leader that controls everything or everyone. If someone were to proclaim some great law, it'd be like, whatever. I'm not going to do that. Okay. And there's a lot more independent thought in that regard. Wow. With that said, I have to preface this just because I'm an old school witch. Back in the 80s, if you met someone that was a witch, it meant a certain thing. Now, because of social media, anyone and their dog can call themselves a witch, like anyone and their dog can call themselves a Christian or a Muslim or whatever. So if you see someone that calls themselves a witch, it may not be the same kind of, they've never taken the Coven oaths or obligations that I've taken. They don't follow our ethics. They don't have our beliefs. They couldn't be anything. Just like I'm sure you met several people that call themselves a Christian. You're like, but are you sure?
Right?
Have you met Jesus yet? I'm not entirely sure about this because they're out Satanists as far as what they do on the weekend, but nonetheless, come Sunday.
Yes.
And it's like that. So it's like whenever I say that I'm a witch, I understand that at a certain time that would mean certain things. Like that's the reason why I mentioned the tradition I was originally coven under, Sax Wicca. Started by Raymond Buckland. You can look the guy up. He has books and go like, oh, so that's what they do. I understand their practice. I got it. Everything is up and out there. I studied under Laurie Cabot, the official witch of Salem, a second degree Cabot witch. There's certain ethics and rules that we kind of follow and obey by, like the old Wiccan read and harm none, do what you will. But if you run into the witch kid that's buying her stuff or his stuff from Spencer's, you're like, you're not following this. Like, right. They're also going to call themselves a witch, but they're not what we would have called a witch back in the 80s.
No.
They're maybe a Satanist or something else.
And that's very interesting. Ricky.
Yes.
How do you, Scott's a witch, you're a paranormal investigator. How are you able, because this is something I'm trying to do. How do you bridge the two together at one common ground?
It's actually not that off. If you look at occultism is using a scientific approach to understanding mysticism and spirituality. For example, whenever I'm summoning a spirit for ceremonial magic, because I've shown some of my videos to Ricky, I don't just feel it's there. I use my paranormal tools to get yes, no answers using a K2 device. I'll have it set off a periscope for like a big yes. And I'm actually able to use my tools to confirm that something is there and we can have a dialogue that way. So I can do the psychic stuff, but I don't have to. We can just talk. In the same sense, the occultism in a nutshell, where someone who is religious will have faith that there is an angel there. An occultist actually wants to communicate to that angel and have it respond back so we know it's there. That concept of gnosis or knowing versus, having faith. So we think of us as like people who have religious inclinations but use a scientific method to see what's real versus what's not.
It's easy for me because I'm very open to religion or whatever people want to do. I travel a lot, so I've seen different religions, been to different worshiping places.
Seen a lot of different spirits you would not normally see out on cases.
Yeah. And you just, I don't know. I guess I'm one of those people. Like, we had a case one time that involved a possession, and I have never Christianed so hard in my whole life as I did in that case. I mean, Scott was over there doing his magical and occult stuff. I had the Bible in my hand. I was working it from that end. And I think when you're dealing with bad spirits, you can tell if they're good or they're bad, number one. We've had actual cases where we went and we always ask the client, what is your goal on this? If we find something, what do you want to happen? And they're like, well, let's see what it is. We've had people let them stay because it wasn't a malevolent entity, right? And they could live in harmony side by side. And so they were able to stay. But the malevolent entity doesn't really care what religion you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So, yeah, I mean, it's not to say, oh, well, this is, a bad Christian demon, or this is a bad Muslim jinn, or, this is a bad, Poseidon sea creature. They don't care what religion the person is who is working on it is. But, you have faith in your own beliefs, and it's fine. It's fine. I don't mind. Scott's view on spirituality doesn't affect my view at all, and we're able to work together and use both of our views together to get rid of whatever it is, or to investigate whatever it is that we need, and it doesn't ever interfere with one another. Okay. So, yeah, you just have to have an open mind, and you can't expect everybody else to think like you do.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, if they did, how would the world be if everybody thought the same?
Oh, it'd be boring as all get out.
Oh my God.
Not only that, but you can go into a client's house who is like super Christian, super religious, and you have to explain to them sometimes and remind them you believe in God and Jesus is who you believe in, and you believe in his works and his teachings. But on the flip side, there are bad things that even Jesus had to deal with. And Jesus cast out demons. Those things exist. It's not all good and rosy, There's evil in this world, and Scott and I don't do this for any other reason than to help people.
As I was saying, there's so many different practices out there. I'm Native American, so you cannot look at the people who lived here before and had their own practices and dealt with their own spirits, both helpful or not helpful, and not realize at some part or another, you might be walking into a ground that's sacred to a spirit that the native people that lived there before used to communicate with. And as it will respond better to that and have that motivation where your traditional demon would freak out by a cross. The native spirit just might be like, oh, it's a lowercase t. That's exciting.
Cool.
Why are you destroying the environment? What happened to the people that I care about?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, so you have to respect that too. You have to respect the client's religions, and they have to respect ours too.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have a lot of explaining to do.
Exactly. Are you guys able to see the comments below?
Yes.
No.
Well, actually, no, I'm not.
No. Okay. We've got a question from a young lady named Gabrielle Paradis. Scott and Jill, have you guys ever seen anything demonic or just a really scary spirit? Have you guys ever seen one of the two? I'm thinking that's what she's saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, we get a lot of cases by people that have summoned something. And the old practice, if you're an occultist, is you learn to banish, and you learn to banish things that you would never, ever summon, just because you need to know how to put things away before you ever bring them into your life. But again, because of the internet, because of everything that's just kind of put out in social media, you'll have people that will stumble upon things, summon things they really shouldn't, and then they don't know how to make it go away once it gets hostile or starts scaring them.
Right. Now, Scott, I'm glad you brought that up. because I've been doing a lot of research on witches, pagans, and it seems like the world really hasn't changed over 2,000 years on the way that the world feel about you guys. For some reason, it seems like I kind of blame Hollywood on the negative light that you guys are having, about you guys and what you guys are. How do you feel about that?
That's actually something my teacher, Lori Cabot, used to work with a lot in the 80s. Now she's pushing 90, so she doesn't do as much as she did, but she would try to counter the negative images and stereotypes of witches that you would see out and about. There is one famous story back when she first started having her Sabbats over in Salem, over at the Moose Lodge, and it's a costume party for us. You can either dress as your formal regalia and be a witch, or you dress as whatever you want to be in the coming year, because it's kind of like our Samhain is our Celtic New Year, basically. And someone showed up dressed up like a devil, and that pissed Lori off, and she chased that guy off and made him take off his outfit, and reminding him that we don't do that because we're not playing into those images.
Exactly.
And it's just one of those things that's kind of out there. If they actually, there are a lot more Wiccans that are out of the broom closet than ever before. There are a lot more witches in general that are out of the broom closet. So a lot more people know us, but in the same sense, things like the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina color it one direction, which is why I've seen some of my students that were like, yeah, I'm a Wiccan like you, and they're wearing inverted pentagrams. You're like, that's not us. That would be like a Christian wearing an inverted cross. That's not what we do. Or some of the other ones that will go out and, they will try to make friends with certain spirits that we just don't practice with.
Exactly.
And
okay. What do you?
The internet's just kind of, it's diluted. I hate sounding like an elitist, but there's something to be said for the days that if you're going to study the craft, you had to go to a coven, because then some older elder will be able to go, no, darling, we don't do that. This is how you do things the right way. Listen to grandma.
Grandma. All right.
Beat your ass if you do something stupid.
So what do you say? What advice would you give to people that wants to, come into this practice? I mean, that's basically on their own, reading a book, just trying to figure things out. I mean, what do you say to people like that?
I would say start with a good author. Back in the 90s and the 80s, it was Llewellyn Press. They have like a little moon on the spine of their book. So if it had the moon, it was pretty much safe. And that's still true today. There are a lot of different authors out there, but check up their ethics. I'm going to be biased again. If they have like a heavy YouTube presence and stuff like that, they may not be someone you want to deal with. An older witch is probably what you're looking for if you were trying to actually gain some form of self-control and power, but also a grounding in ethics. Not to say there aren't several of them that are younger, and I do mean younger. They are younger than I am. And they publish wonderful works, and they are good at being social media savvy, but they're swimming in a sea full of people that are also claiming themselves to be witches or claiming to be that. And just like, I don't know if you've seen that documentary about Hillsong, that super Christian megachurch.
Okay.
And that had sex scandals. They had they had all sorts of, it's the same old story it always was, but it would be like being Christian, walking into that thinking, oh, I finally found Jesus. And then afterwards you go, maybe this isn't Jesus that I was looking for. And that happens a lot with a lot of different covens. I'll say this much, and this is where I'm treading on light ground. I run into a lot of different witches in Texas that are like, oh, yeah, I don't practice with a coven. Every time I try, they turn out to be assholes. I'm like, yeah, I understand. It's when you find a good group that is kind, that is good, that has the they would say a perfect love and perfect trust, because you can trust them to have your back, and they're actually good and honorable people. You got to bond with them and stick it out with them.
Right.
Just like being a Christian trying to find a decent church that's not scammy. It can be hard sometimes.
Yeah, it's really hard sometimes. Got a couple questions. What is the best way to deal with evil spirits and attack? And yes, Mr. Johnson, I am wearing a hot dog costume. That's the reason why I was laughing, because he made that. I am wearing a hot dog costume. So there's a couple people asking me, am I wearing a hot dog costume? Yes. As you guys know, if you guys watch my podcast, you know I come on with different hats, and sometimes, it just keep the thing going, a lot of fun. That's the reason why I have this, not only do I want to learn, new things, but I also want to keep things interesting. You know what I'm saying? So, Rick, let's talk about you for a minute.
Okay.
What do your if you're married, what does your husband, your kids, what do they all think about you and what you do for a living?
Well, I'm a professional by day. During the week, I'm a personal executive assistant for a prominent, and everybody's cool with that. But in my spare time, well, pretty much when we're on a roll every single week, my mom is very interested in it. My boyfriend is a total skeptic, and half the stuff that I tell him and that I'm so serious about, he will either laugh or just shake his head. And that's fine. And I told him, I said, someday I'm going to bring you and I'm going to turn you.
Wow.
My friends, some of them don't want to hear about it. I mean, they just absolutely do not. It scares the hell out of them, and they don't want to have anything to do with it. And that's cool too. Some of my friends are very interested in it. Some of my friends are worried. I mean, it's just like with any family or loving situation when you're doing something that people don't understand.
The question that I have is, because you just mentioned something, why is this planet, a majority of these people on this planet are afraid of the unknown? Now, the thing is, what the unknown is, when you walk outside and you don't see the future, or you can't visualize, aren't you walking into the unknown anyway? So why are people so afraid of that? I don't understand it. I mean, it's one of the biggest questions that I keep asking myself, and I ask others, and they can't find to have an answer for it also.
I think a lot of it has to deal with whether or not you can see it or not. Like if you have a spirit and it's setting off your devices, but you know it's there, it's doing things, or it's moving objects, but you can't actually see what it looks like, because that makes the imagination run like crazy.
It is, and I don't think this is an answer just for the paranormal. I travel a lot. I love to travel. And I did not know how much I didn't know until I started traveling. And I went to Egypt a few years ago. And everybody's like, I can't believe you're going. I went by myself. They're like, I can't believe you're going by yourself as a woman. Bad things happen. They're kill Americans, blah, 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 full of hate. No. Okay, so I went into this mosque on a holy day. And I had a scarf. I had brought a scarf to put over my head because that's what the Muslim women do. And my scarf kept falling off. And there was a lady, and she came up to me and she started fixing my scarf for me. And then before I knew it, there were like 30 women surrounding me. And they were like, we're so happy you're here. We're honored to have you. Let me show you this. Do you have any questions? And I left that mosque feeling that that was the most welcoming place of worship I had ever stepped in. And when I tell people that, they're just like, first of all, some people are unhappy with me for walking into a mosque anyway. And I'm like, why? These people are people just like us, and this is not a hostile religion. You can take any religion, anything, and there's hostile and radical people in everything. And these people were 100% good, and 100% they were not going to let anything bad happen to me. And you could feel it. You could feel the love, you know? So people who are afraid of the unknown could be anything. Do you want to take a bite of this sushi? I don't know. I've never had sushi. It sounds gross. I don't want to. Okay, well, you don't have to. But, you know, if you did, then you know what it tastes like and you know if you want it again. You may be missing out. You may not be missing out at all. It may be totally gross.
Right.
So the unknown can be anything. The paranormal unknown is scary to most people because, because it's unknown. But so is death, and it's going to happen to us all, you know. And so is getting in your car every day.
So is life. Life is full of unknowns.
It is absolutely full of unknowns.
And
I do want to say that, you know, it sounds like we've seen demonic presences, but not everything we see that is bad that we deal with is a demon. Okay, so a lot of people think that we just go ghost hunting and then we're strictly looking for ghosts, or we're strictly looking for demons, or we're strictly looking for, you know, whatever it is they think we're looking for. But we go into a case knowing there's something bad there, but we don't always know what it is. Okay, and like there's some paranormal investigators who go on cases and they will try to find anything out of nothing every time. We went on a few cases where it was nothing. We went on a case one time, it was a paranormal investigation, and wound up helping somebody with a divorce.
Right.
So,
that's entirely true. It's like I was doing tarot card readings with them, and it turned into, let's, you know, have a heart to heart. I'll do that with a lot of the clients. Or sometimes in which, you know, Ricky will attest to it. Like I start doing the psychic stuff with them, and especially if they're a straight dude, I'm a gay dude, but you know, they'll have their emotions. They won't know what to do it, but I'll do the psychic crud and I'll tell them you're feeling blah because of blah. And they go, you're right. And then because I've already offered what they're feeling, they open the door and just the floodgates open. And then we needed to have
I've never seen so many straight men love Scott in my entire life. He gives out more hugs to straight men than I ever have. I mean, they just love to be around Scott and love to open up and be honest, because you can tell that he's truly a caring person. You know?
It does help, but I will go ahead and, you know, rather than hiding behind barriers, I'll just tell them, I know this is what you're going through. I know this is what you're feeling. Your aura shows it. Your everything shows it. Let's just be upfront and talk about it for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a question from Thunderstorm Paranormal. Do spirits have a very distinct smell? And if they do, what does it smell like?
Yes, depending upon how you are perceiving them psychically. Some of your more hostile ones, especially, can smell like a sulfurous fart. You will smell things that are like fecal matter. We've had one that this was before I met Ricky, and I was working in a case, and all right, in occultism, we have this thing referred to as the spirit of place, right? So it's like whenever you're dealing with like a very hostile area, it's claimed that area as its place. So it's kind of territorial there. I will push it away through banishings and then try to invoke other spirits to take in that spirit of place, usually celestial angels. And one of the ways you can usually tell when the celestial angels have taken hold is that if it's a traditional demonic kind of thing, the smell will be sulfurous, fart, or shit. And then the real common one, if the angels come in, is it'll smell like roses.
Yeah, we've smelled roses before. We had one case where it was distracting us. We had a 2-hour drive, and it distracted us the entire way. And I was so overcome with the smell of cedar and wet leather.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, Scott. Just permeating my freaking nostrils. What is this? And he said, that's it. That's the thing that we're going to. But we've also had cases where, well, we smelled roses. That one time it was like a rosy perfume, like an old rose, not like new rose, you know. But we've smelled like a smoky vanilla. Before.
Also, if you remember the cut grass over at your friend's art studios, because the stuff that was there used to tend horses back in the day when that was, well, people rode horses and did all that stuff in Texas. This is in Fort Worth. And so he had a liking towards that smell. So whenever he would enter into the room, you would smell the cut grass and the hay.
Yeah, it would smell like a very dry, like a dry but fresh cut grass. And he told us, I miss the horses. I miss being with the horses because it wasn't a stable anymore. My friend's PR firm and art studio was a former stable at a mansion in Fort Worth. And yeah, she lets that guy stay there. I mean, we didn't have to banish him or get rid of him.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he had a sad life, but he, and I told her, I said, can you put some paintings of a horse here? And she's like, yeah, I'll do whatever it takes. So, you know, and she's accommodated that. She has an art studio, and he told us that he didn't like the changing of the paintings in the rooms as much as it had to be done. But I was like, can you just leave the one picture there? She's like, yeah.
Okay, cool. That's pretty cool, guys. Rick, when you go on an investigation with Scott and he tells you, hey, we're dealing with the demon or something very, very, very bad, and Scott, you want to be able to get rid of that particular, if they tell him, I want it go, I want it out of here, what exactly do you put it in to get rid of it? A crystal? What exactly do you do?
That entirely depends upon the nature of the spirits. For example, like a lot of the people that will bring something in, they'll use I don't want to name it because I don't want people to go pick it up, but it's a very common medieval grimoire of magic that is fairly easy to acquire off of Amazon or, again, Barnes & Noble, and they will practice that. So we'll set up a triangle of art. We will go through and summon the little beastie and bind him in the same way you would if you're going to summon him and do that. But instead of making him do something, we just bind him and say, you must go now, and get rid of him in that regard. Now, if they are being funkier, this is where you do your traditional Solomonic magic that would involve them actually being bound into a sigil that would be into like a book or a parchment or something and bound up. Your traditional one, if we're going off the Arabic version of the Book of Solomon, not the English translations, but the Solomonic project as it was understood by Muslims, King Solomon were binding up the Afrit, the negative jinn, and put them in a brass vessel and sink that into the water so that people wouldn't be able to find those spirits, but they would be tagged onto something physical and locked up in a way because they were that baneful or harmful.
Okay. So what exactly do you, let's say if you are on an investigation, what exactly that you do to get rid of or, just
if
get them
I'm
out?
my traditional thing, like I said, I will set up the banishings to push it out, and we'll use our equipment to see if it actually is out. Like we had one case up in a Denton apartment, and we got it to go outside of the apartment. The problem with the apartments being, of course, it could just leave this unit, move into the next one. But whenever it tried to reappear through like a window or something, it would set off mel meters and things of that nature. So you could tell it was trying to come back in, but couldn't. And from there, then I'll summon in, again, celestial angels to take over as a spirit of the place. So it becomes their territory. So they will guard that place as their own and whoever's in there, and will coax them to protect the family in the house.
We actually had a case with some nature spirits.
Yes.
And, we didn't attach them to a vessel or anything. They were actually trapped. And our client had seen the same nature spirits looking into the window Okay. And it turned out that somebody had put a spell on her house, and it trapped some of them inside, and they'd been inside for decades. And
Wow.
they just wanted out with people.
Yeah, so when she would
That's
get
what it
pissed off
was.
at them and scream at them to leave, they would get mad at her because they were trying to but couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we're doing the banishing and opening things up, we tried getting this on camera, but it didn't really work out too well because it was dark. But you could see them running out and hitting the plants, and the plants would bend and move whenever they would hit it. And they were just running outside. You would also, there wasn't any wind that day or night, but you could see the leaves kick up as they're running in the yard.
Okay. How do you dispose of that? What do you keep these certain items that you trap these demons in? Do you
A
keep
lot of it, I don't actually trap them because I don't have to. I just get them to go back to the place where they came from. And
now if
areas so they cannot come back into this place.
okay.
Because that's always a problem with it. If you think that you're going to, let's say, bind them to a crystal, but the people that summoned them used a very common grammar of magic to do so, then Todd down the street's probably also going to buy that same book off of Amazon and call up, let's call it Demon Ted again, and Ted's going to come running around because that's just the nature of the practice. But you can seal off certain areas. And again, if we move into the spirit of place to take over that location, well, then it can't come back in there because a new spirit, in this case, celestial angel, has made it a house.
Okay.
So you've got a good protective spirit or domovoi to actually look out after the client and to keep things running right.
Wow. Oh, cool.
It's
Now,
kind of a rule like two hoes can't have the same corner.
Right.
So, one of them has to go back where they came from, and new hoe takes over. So,
Hey, something that's nastier. That's where I would summon the thing up, but I do it in my apartment because I can summon things from here and pull it out from there, so that I would never. Like we had one case, it was a possession case. It was like I have the stuff to pull it out, but I didn't want to do that magic in the same location as the client that's possessed. I'd rather fight that fight in a different turf in which I've got more defenses up, but also I can do something with it and it's not going to harm the clients.
right. Okay. Scott, how often do you practice? How often do you?
That's one thing. Like if you're actually serious about the occult, or you're serious about Christianity, or you're serious about Buddhism, or you're serious about anything, you should have a daily practice. If we're doing ceremonial magic, it's in the morning and in the evenings. You at least do your LBRP, banishing ritual of the hexagram, middle pillar, supreme invoking, and then at night, your same thing except with the initiating with the supreme banishing. In the very least, any other practices are additional to that, to meditation.
I've never seen anyone more committed to a daily practice than Scott. He not only does his ritualistic daily practice or his, daily worship or whatever it is you want to call it, he's also a vegan. He also fasts before our investigations. He goes above and beyond.
Also, a lot of the books that you have for spirit evocation, they'll tell you to go vegetarian. They didn't have vegan as a concept back in that time. So it's like I'm constantly in what we refer to in a fasting state because of the veganism that would allow me to contact, like I said, certain angelic forces and other forces that are a little bit more etheric. Let's say that, etheric, harder to reach than the rest. So it's a constant thing that you have to do. Whenever we have a client that has had some run-in with something nasty and horrible, they have got to start some form of practice. Don't really care what it is. If you're Christian, by all means, do that. If you're Buddhist, by all means, do that. But you've got to do it and do it regularly.
Right.
It can't be one of those things in which we've had some clients and their idea of religious practice was, well, I'm going to read from time to time and I'll say the prayer before we eat food, and thanks. And that's going to be my Christianity for the day. I was like, no, we need to do a lot more.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you told somebody you was a vegan back in Salem, back in those days, you'd probably get burnt at the stake. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Scott, how? Because I'm steady learning as I go here, so I'm taking everything in. What is the difference? Because I hear a lot of demonologists, I hear a lot of witches, I hear a lot of people talk about salt. If you want to, have a demon not come in your house, you put salt at your front door, or you just put salt in certain places. What is the difference between every other salt that you buy at the store and salt that you use to actually protect your house?
This is where I'm going to difference from like the New Agers. Like a lot of the New Agers say, it's all about intent. I'm like, intent doesn't matter for shit. You know how you can intend to say the right words to rebuild a relationship, but you come off sounding like an ass and you just destroy the relationship. It's not just about, you can scatter salt all you want to, but it's really about the magic spells that you put on the salt. And that's where a lot of people goof up, or they'll buy the healing crystal. And I've got black tourmaline. I put it all out, but it hasn't done anything. It's like, yeah, that's like buying a phone and not plugging it in. It's like, of course it's not going to do anything. You haven't done anything with it. Because It is really, at the end of the day, about the magic that you put in the object. The object can help facilitate that magic, but realistically, you've got to do something to it. And that's where I hate saying that this is a sign that you don't really have anything that serious. But if you've got something you think is big, dark, and evil, and you can get rid of it with a little bit of sage and salt, it's probably not a demon.
Right.
It's those mofos can. This is the way you can, if you're doing your traditional ghost hunting thing, one of the ways you can tell the difference between a ghost and a demon is a demon can pick up heavy shit and throw it at you, where a ghost really has to work hard to move something small over a period of time. And if you've ever had a case in which things were legitimately thrown at you, like knives or, very heavy objects, that salt circle is not going to do much for you, because at the end of the day, it's still just salt. That might work for a lot of spirits that are a lot more gentle or just not as hostile. But if it is one of the big bads, you're going to need something more than a salt circle and some sage.
And you know what? Because you're absolutely right. Because I've run across an individual that claimed that he or she had something in her house. And you can go buy sage just about anywhere these days.
Oh, yeah.
But if you don't know how the right words to say or know how to perform it, the ritual right, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of your money. You're not going to accomplish anything. And and that's exactly what happened, because I got a phone call 2 days later saying, well, we got the sage and we performed the ritual, but whatever, that was there was still there. And I'm like, well, it basically depends on what you say and just about how forceful you are with it.
Connection to divinity, because that's one of the bigger things. You will see some of the ghost hunter groups out there in which everyone's a priest and everyone's doing exorcisms and whatever. But if the priest that you have doing your exorcism got it off his certification off of the internet,
that ain't gonna work.
No, that's not the same thing as someone that has, practiced Roman Catholicism for like X number of years and spent their life devoted to this as a life. It's not the same thing, and it gets back to your connection and the rest. It's I don't know if you remember with the old movie Fright Night.
Exactly.
The vampire and one of the vampire hunters pulls out a cross and goes, "You've got to have faith in Mr. Vincent."
Exactly. Yes, I remember that.
Performance, he didn't actually have a connection to the divine. And the kid that he was with had a smaller cross, but he actually had a connection to divinity because he was serious about it. That one worked.
Oh, I mean that's dude. I mean, you wouldn't believe how just people can think just because they seen something on TV or some TV show that it can actually work without having any heart and soul and a little bit of love. you know, and
or any magic. It's like Harry Potter. I say the words, and that's all that happens. But you know, if you're not weaving the magic into it, then the crap doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Easier. You know, the thing is that people will go to the internet. They will look up stuff. They will conjure stuff on their own. They won't know what to do with it. Ask for help. Ask for somebody. That's the difference between now and the reason that I'm doing all this is because when I was growing up as a teenager in the 80s and 90s, I ran into some bad stuff. I had nobody to call. The only thing I could do is go to the doctor and get some sleeping pills because that was the only thing that I could do. There was nobody to talk to. Nobody would believe you. You can't go to church with it because you're going to hell. I mean, now, don't try to handle this on your own. If you're out of your league, then call someone who is experienced with help. Do not bring a knife to a gunfight when you're facing a demon.
Exactly. And expect to win. It don't work like that.
No, you know? And it may not be a demon. I mean, you may scare a lot easier than somebody else. It may not be anything at all. But call for some help. Don't attempt this all on your own.
And you know what's so weird about it? I'm gonna tell you what's so weird about today's society is kids are using things that they shouldn't use or they don't understand. And just like you say, Scott, you know, just by looking up a YouTube channel or Googling something on social media or something, these kids think they understand exactly what they're doing. There are more kids now using Ouija boards than there ever was in the 70s, 80s, or in the 90s when I was growing up.
And they don't know what to do with it. They make up stupid rules that literally, if you're old enough, you're like, oh, I remember that movie. Yeah, it came from that movie. That's not real.
Yeah. So we've actually had clients who call us before with big ass problems. And it wasn't them that conjured it. And they did not want to believe that their children had anything to do with it. And it was. So teenagers especially, you know, and young college people.
I wouldn't put nothing past my kids. You just got to be that open-minded when it comes to yours. Just because somebody else is doing, hey, I wouldn't put nothing past mine.
And it may not be your kid. It might be that, because we had this with one client. It wasn't the kid. It was the kid's friend that was
coming over and spending the night conjuring stuff at her house.
Oh, yeah.
So, it gets crazy like that.
Exactly. All right, we got a question. Miss Alexander would like to know, how would you suggest getting started as a paranormal investigator?
I would. Lloyd Auerbach is a good guy. He had a book. His book was Hauntings, Poltergeists, and Apparitions. Very good book to start with. Harry Price's work. He was one of the first paranormal investigators ever. Notice I'm going old school. The Warrens have, Ed and Lorraine Warren have several of their books out from their past case experiences. Start with that. Start with some old things like that. They're of that nature. Look up some of one of my favorite guys, Dr. Russell Targ. He wrote The Mind Race. He's a physicist. So he's approaching parapsychology back in the 80s and the 90s when parapsychology was still being funded. But from a physics standpoint, you'll also see him cross-applied with some people that are interested in UFOs, dealing with remote viewing and other things. There are several good authors, but, find some of your older authors that were attached to a university. Duke University used to have a wonderful parapsychology department, and they don't exist anymore because funding was cut. But you will still find the books and the publications that were put out by those people that had PhDs, and that's a good place to kind of take a stand with it. And again, Ed and Lorraine Warren's books that you can find out anywhere, wonderful places to start. They are not necessarily. Ed and Lorraine Warren, wonderful people, but because they were still learning as they were going, might not have made the best choices at all times. but they're good lessons to learn from, and they were coming from the right place, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, what is your goal? Do you want to go to haunted places and just see what's out there, get a vibe, or do you want to take it deeper? Do you want to go in those places and actually figure out what to do about it?
And that's one thing that Ricky, it's one of the things Ricky and I always talk about. What's your goal with it? We're into helping people. So some other paranormal groups, they want to do fun things.
And that's great.
We don't. We have our own hobbies. I'm an occultist. If I want to see a spirit, I can summon the spirit in my living room. I don't need to go somewhere else to find a spirit.
I'm not an occultist, and if I need to do that, I'll call Scott.
Yeah, we held a seance with another paranormal group one time just because they were having issues of finding cases. Like, well, if you want to experience this, I can just pull the ones that are around here, and they'll set off your devices, and you can meet people that are pre-vetted, and they're just people. Nothing scary, nothing dark, nothing horrible. And there are just different options like that you can do. I would also like to say there are several different classes you can take, such as Miracles of Joy in Louisville. They have medium classes in which you can learn to be a medium. I know this is where I'll say stuff that might be controversial. There are people that are like, oh, it's a gift, you can't learn it. No, you can teach pretty much anything. And you can learn how to be your own medium or psychic. It just takes, again, what's that word? Practice. And the
thing is, you have to, as much as you want to dive into it and get into it, and you practice, you have to realize your limitations. Okay. Mm-hmm. So on our investigations, am kitchen bitch, and I don't mind at all because Scott teaches me everything. And then if anything needs to be done, I will do whatever he says. I'm not going to try to push him out of the way and take the lead on something that I know he is more capable of doing than I am, but he will teach me how.
Yeah. One thing I can say as being an investigator for the last 3 years, Miss Alexander, start off small. Don't jump into anything big because you don't want that. You don't want anything that can possibly happen to you, because once you out there, you're actually opening up yourself to a lot. So, if you want to become one, just start off small. I recommend, me personally, don't do house investigations. Don't do anything that go past your means. Start off, if you want to go to your local cemetery, do that. If you're around the Central Texas area and there's an old battlefield ground where hundreds of people died, go do that.
You don't have to go at night.
Yeah,
that's a huge misconception people have.
And that's the one. Yeah, and that's the one thing that people think, that everything go bump in the night. And once again, I blame Hollywood on that, because that seemed like so, stereotypical Hollywood. Every movie that they have is nighttime, this and that. Trust me, if they want to communicate with you, they will, night or day, afternoon, morning, twilight. It really don't matter. If they got the energy to do it, they're gonna do it. Especially these angry spirits. So, hey, just start off small. Don't do nothing crazy. And if you're in it to help people, just gradually work your way up. You know what I'm saying? It will come eventually. Like I said, it takes years and years and years of practice to do this. And trust me, the paranormal field is ever evolving. Oh, my God, dude. It evolves. Matter of fact, it's evolving right now. Because, if people aren't coming up with new equipment, how to investigate, people, it's just a lot of things that people, these people in this world are doing right now. So, and, you really, really just got to sit back and just go with the flow,
Amara, honey, we love Amara. God bless you.
Yeah, Amara, made it. Yay!
Put us on one, okay? You find somebody that you know who's professional about it, and give it a go.
And who will actually watch out for you. And this gets back to like what you're in it for. There are several people that paranormal groups that we don't do anything with because they're trying to have a ghost adventure. So they will go in places and try to set things off and piss things off.
No, I don't want to piss anything off. For that.
Like I said, we're there to help people, and that's really also why we do things like these podcasts, so that if people need us, they can find us. And again, we don't charge for anyone who's asking; it's free. But if you're really just trying to learn Miracles of Joy, several different places, they have medium classes. You can learn, and then rather than talking to some spirit that's dark, evil, and scary, talk to your grandma.
Yeah.
You did talk to her while she was alive. You can talk to her now.
Oh, yeah.
You have, this sounds kind of sad, but I was with a different paranormal group and we're kind of doing a cemetery crawl, and which is where you just go through a cemetery with the devices. And there was one spirit that was standing there, and this was on the 4th of July. And he was standing by his grave, and he set off a device. One of my friend's kids, I told him to go up there and talk to him and ask him questions, and was giving yes, no answers on like a K2 device, which was good. But what the kid didn't get till later on was this was a spirit that was waiting for his family to visit, because he was an ex-soldier who's waiting for his family to visit on the 4th of July. And he was looking for anyone to talk to. We found some other graves that also had his name on the back part of the cemetery, so the people he was waiting for might have already passed and moved on. But just in the same sense, you can have humans who are still alive living in old folks' homes desperately wanting someone to say hello to. You also have some spirits that are the same way. And you don't have to run out for something scary or horrible. There are a lot of people to talk to just all over the place.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of being open to it. But I think the biggest caveat I would have is, if you're starting off, know what you're in there for, because those people that are trying to have a ghost adventure will probably get you in trouble, because they're the ones that will take you out to some place that's supposed to have the big bad scare factor.
Oh.
And that may not be what you're ready for. That's
yeah.
okay.
I'm telling you, the worst thing you could do is go into an investigation and get shell shocked. Most, you don't want to do that. People don't know what shell shock is. It's a Vietnam term, I think, for like PA. What is it called? PS
stress disorder.
Yeah, but I think back then, the Vietnam days, it was 10 times worse than it is today. I mean, it's just crazy. But yeah, I mean, I know, because she says she wants to help people, and the best thing you could do is, like Scott said, do a lot of research, educate yourself, and just be knowledgeable. And the best thing that you can actually do is surround yourself with good people that wants to help you, that feels the same way that you do. Because right now, I think I got one of the best paranormal groups, individuals I think I've ever had.
That's great.
So, yeah, also one I would kind of say is, be prepared for whenever you have someone that might have mental health issues, because that's one that a lot of people, their paranormal groups, don't really know how to deal with. Because when you walk in, you expect the client just to have a spirit, but there's something else going on, because that's another delicate matter. It's okay to admit, like, when you are out of your elements, and it might be turned to, like, ask the person, who their doctor is, and reach out to that doctor and have that professional call. Or we've had some cases in which what we saw had to be reported to Child Protective Services.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's just the way the law works.
Yeah.
I watch it.
Those are things that you will never, if you watch those paranormal videos, they'll never talk about, but it's things that you've got to be aware of.
And and that was a question that was probably one of my next questions, Ricky, that I had for you is, how do you feel about these paranormal shows, past and present, that I can honestly say some of them open it up for paranormal investigators to do what we do. And then there's some out there that are just crap, in it for the money, in it for the scare factor, and just totally pieces of, dirt crap pieces, I didn't want to go there with you guys with the raw and uncut, but it kind of went there. But
this is what I think. I think that you have to view those shows with a grain of salt, and some of them you should view strictly as entertainment. Is an investigation like Ghost Adventures? No, it's not. I've never screamed running down the hall. I've never said dude. There's so many things that go on in these shows that don't actually happen. But in the same sense, yes, they have opened it up to where paranormal investigation is an acceptable thing now, and not just a thing for weirdos. But don't take everything you see on TV as strictly fact, because it's an entertainment business.
It's everything. I teach English, and a lot of times we look at what happens in a actual ghost case. And Ricky's made this comment before, just offhand, that it's not really terrifying to her because there's no build up to it. There's no suspenseful music to it. It's just, oh, that moved. Okay.
A lot of it is the build up, and the scary part for most people, what they don't realize is it's a little bit of anxiety. It's, oh my God, something's fixing to happen. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? When you're on a paranormal investigation, shit just happens,
Or you might have,
you take it and you run with it. You're not anticipating something to happen. Right?
Well, I remember with TAPS many years back, they asked, well, why don't they have like a TAPS video game? And, the ghost hunters would say like, well, it's not really, it was going to play a game in which the entire motive of it is you spend like about 3 hours going through EVP tapes, listening to find something, and you don't find anything. And you're like, was that a sound? I'm not sure. I'm going to sleep now.
You're right. Or watching 3 hours worth of just watching, looking at 3 hours worth of photos. Like, hey, is that what I think it is? Is that what I think it is? Hey, could that be that? It's crazy.
This is a horrible thing, but it was with my friend's Crazy Cat Paranormal. We're over at, I don't want to say what the place is. It's a wonderful, very haunted, very famous haunted house. And it has like a very famous demon there and spirits. It's very active, but the most terrifying thing that we had was in the middle of the night. This giant cockroach was about this big, up on the back, past where their computer equipment is. And I look at my friend Cecilia and go, oh God, Cecilia, look, you can see it turn its head and it's looking at us. She's thinking, get the broom and hit it. And I'm trying to hit it, but the broom's small. And then it falls into the computer equipment. She's like, shit, it's in our equipment. And I'm like, fuck, I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
The most terrifying thing. They did have spirits that were cutting and they were screaming and weird band music and all this other stuff. But you can't really explain to something the most terrifying thing you ever saw was a giant cockroach turning its head at you. Was it supernatural? No. It was huge. It was freaking huge.
Oh, man.
Some of the, we had a case recently. This is another thing of advice. Always do a background check. Always background check. Because the scary part about this was not paranormal. They had some paranormal stuff going on.
Right. I think the paranormal thing just wanted to leave the house.
Yeah, the scariest thing was the people. And I seriously thought they were going to kill us.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not lying about that. And that was probably the scariest case that I've been on because, you go into the spirit realm and time doesn't exist. You don't know if you're dealing with something from the past or something that's current or something that's coming sometimes. When you deal with people, shit, that is real and in your face.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And
hey, Yeah, Scott, I'm glad when you mentioned the cockroach, man, I just got to tell you this story. I try to make it as quick as possible. I was at work and I got a call from an older gentleman. You guys might think this is funny, but this really happened. He called me up, left a message on my phone. It's like, hey, I need you guys ASAP. There's something really going on in my apartment. And I called him back. I'm like, hey, John, we'll call him John. Hey, John, what's going on? And he's like, hey, man, there is something going on. I think I got these roaches in my house, and I think they're smoking my cigarettes and drinking up all my milk.
Okay.
So, but this is serious. This is how people minds, really go. So I called up. It happened on a Sunday. I called up the guy and said, "Hey, we got a priority. We need to get up. After I get off work, I'm gonna run home, grab the equipment. We're gonna go over here." They met me over there, and we're, the first thing we do, we don't go in and just put equipment around and just start investigating. We kind of, fizzled out. We kind of looked around the place to see what was going on. The person that had the notepad, with asking questions, and all that. And, then eventually we ended up bringing in a K2 and we didn't find anything. So we're like, hey, here's what we're going to do. If you're saying this is really happening, we're going to put this camera on a tripod and we're going to put it in a certain corner where we're able to see you and able to see the refrigerator and able to see just about the whole, because he slept in the living room. So we did that. Okay, we come back the next day, which was a Monday, and he's like, well, had anything going on? He's like, yeah, man, they drunk up my milk and smoked all my damn cigarettes up again. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go with this again. So we took the camera and we looked at it. No, matter of fact, I was the one that looked at it, and I sat, I was sitting here just because hours passed off and there was nothing, so 2, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, I see him get up. Scott, Ricky, yes, I see him get up, smoke a cigarette, went to his refrigerator, drunk his milk, and what's so crazy about it, all this was going on while he was asleep.
Yep. I had a client and there would be random cans of dog food out that was opened and just left. And she didn't know that she was a sleepwalker. And while we're doing the case thing, she goes to sleep because this is younger, so I could stay up later. And she would go up in the middle of the night, sleepwalk, and then she would get the can of dog food that half of it went over to her dog and half of it would stay in the refrigerator. And she'd keep it. And we saw her sitting in the middle of her living room in a sleepwalk state, eating the dog food, going, this is the best peanut butter ever.
Oh.
And it was that. Or one that's even better. We had a client, this is many years back before I met Ricky, and this was just one of those, oh God, what do you do moments. Felt that there was something in the house, felt like it was being watched. He was being watched. When we turned off the lights and started flashing things on the flashlights, it turned out he had a bunch of little brown bats in his vents. Oh. And whenever we flashed the lights up there, you could see all these little bitty eyes staring back. And then, you get like a coat hanger and, straighten it out and kind of jiggle up there and you can see them start flying around. It's like, good news, it's not a ghost. Bad news, this is going to be expensive. You've got bats living inside your walls, probably pooing all over the place because they just poo.
Boy, that guano is no joke, man. Yeah. Oh my God.
And that's the old joke I used to make was you hope it's a ghost. A ghost is cheap.
Oh yeah, compared to the other stuff.
The other stuff, a ghost is really cheap. Or I don't know if you've ever seen this where the rats they can live in the back of the insulation of a refrigerator. And I've seen some ghost hunter groups, yes, in which their camera equipment caught a rat jumping from the back of the refrigerator getting a banana and dragging it back behind there.
Mm-mm.
So when they had stuff move around, yeah, it was moving around, but it was because you had a monster-sized rat just kind of ratatouilleing its way through your house at night.
Wow.
And living in your insulation.
That is crazy.
It makes you wish for the ghost.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Right.
To poo on your stuff.
All right. Hey, guys. Let's talk about a bucket list. Everybody has one. I got one. Scott, you have one. Ricky, you have one. If you had a bucket list on where you want to investigate, where would it be? Any part of the world, no matter where, any part of the world.
Mine are just places that I've already been. Like I want to go back to Lilydale. You may not know it, but for everyone who's interested in the medium stuff, Lilydale is actually a city up in New York that was founded by mediums. The spirits told them to build the city, and they did. So everyone that lives there is a medium. You'll see like an HBO special, Lilydale, where no one dies, because you just have a bunch of mediums. They talk to the ghosts, and the ghosts still do things. And it's just a wonderful little place to visit. And again, when the little old medium ladies or dudes die, their spirits are still walking around there, and you will still get interaction with them.
Wow.
Or let's see, what's another fun place? There's several places throughout Salem that are just wonderful and sacred for many reasons. But it's like, or I'll plug a place that's wonderful. If you want to have a good haunting experience, the Jefferson Hotel is wonderful. The Haunted Hill House over at Mineral Well is a wonderful place. But it's like visiting friends. Like over at Mineral Wells, the last time I was over there with Cecilia, she knew when I was coming up because the ghost on the Phasma box would start screaming out my name. Because for me and her, it's not like we were going to investigate something scary. It was like we're going to see old friends again.
Ah, okay. Ricky, where would you like to go?
You know, it's not really a haunted location, and I actually may do it this year. I would love to go to Mexico City for Dia de los Muertos, and it would just be nice to submerge yourself in that culture where death isn't a scary thing. You know, that it's a thing where your family comes back to visit you, and it's not scary at all. You know, even though it's around Halloween. And let's see, where else would I like to go? There's some places in Scotland that I would like to go, some haunted places. And every time I travel, I try to hit a cemetery or two, depending on where that is. And there's a church in Italy where they used to bury the non-Catholics because technically they weren't supposed to be buried on church grounds until these nuns were like, dude, that's not cool because these people are, you know, they're very devoted to God and they should be able to be buried on holy land. And so this church like put up a bunch of symbolic things to let them know that, hey, we're cool with burying non-Catholics. And there's actually this beautiful plaque. I'll send it to you later. And that I took a picture of a few weeks ago when I went back there. And it's of this man who is older. And you could tell that in his youth, he was like a beautiful man. He was very tall and strong. And his body is just given out. And there's a Grim Reaper over him. And it has angel wings. And it's holding up an hourglass. And some people would see that and get kind of afraid of that. Mm-hmm. But it was such a beautiful story because that Grim Reaper was there saying, hey, man, I'm coming to you as a friend and your time is running out. But, you know, just rest, man. I got this from here. And it was just such a beautiful thing. And the whole church is like that. I mean, there's skulls and all this stuff, and they even have catacombs underneath it. But it's such a beautiful place, and I don't know, it just was kind of peaceful to me.
Yeah, buddy. For me, Back when COVID was going on, me personally, I think the epicenter for that was New York, because I think more people died out of that city more than anybody. But have you guys ever wondered what they did with those bodies? If once the families did not claim them, either they burnt them, if I'm correct, or either they buried them on the island of the dead. The island of the dead is a place where an old, how can I say it? It was like an old place where they keep people who had special needs back in the early days. And well, anyway, they closed it down. And it was an island, so it was really hard for you to get to. And so what the city did, they went and got a couple of inmates out of Rikers and just start putting bodies on that island. No matter how big, how small, they were just stacking them, and just covering them up. And not only did what's so crazy about it, they only would put one, maybe two plots down there, and they had names or whatever, whoever, and all that. But dude, there's over 10,000 bodies on that cemetery. I mean, on that island alone, and we're not even counting the cemetery that was there beforehand. All this happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of bodies. The other one would have to be, if you're a history buff like myself, it would be Normandy Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah.
Because the kids that were on those ships when they tried to liberate France, the minute they jumped off that ship, off those things, man, they were getting ripped apart by damn gun machines, machine guns and all that. And ones that did made it to the beach, they were being blowed up and stuff. So there's a lot of things. Me personally, I think there's a lot of things there. Unfortunately, the French government would not allow anybody on that beach because they fear that there were so many landmines there that they didn't find them all. The next one would definitely be a concentration camp.
Oh, that would be.
Can you imagine the sorrow?
I've actually visited several of them. One of the worst ones I have been to was right after communism fell apart. I studied abroad over in Kiev. So like literally it fell apart in December. During that summer, we're studying abroad. So as honor students, language, government and transition was one of the classes, and honors language immersions. And we went to Babi Yar, one of the bigger mass graves. And the easiest way I can say about it was like looking down if you're at the very top of a football stadium, because there were so many just massacred Jews that over the years the land had been settling down, and so it just started going concave like a football stadium. So when you're at the very top of it, it was like you're looking down in the pitch of a football stadium, and that was psychically rough.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe that. I have discovered that I have some empath abilities, and there were two places that really got to me and made me physically sick to be there. And that was one when I was in the Colosseum in Rome. We were walking through the gladiators entrance, and the walls were not flat. They had made stones that stuck out like diamond shapes, so that the people that they were sending out there could not grab onto the walls and hug the walls, because they were so it just makes me cold to think about it now. I felt such desperation and anxiety and fear going in there that I literally threw up. I mean, it was so. And then a few weeks ago, I went to the Tower of London, and I was feeling the same way. I was like just terrified, and I was just anxious, and I just felt like I had to get out of there. And I looked, and I was right over this part called Traitors Gate, which was in the moat. And they would take the prisoners, like the political prisoners or the royal prisoners, into the tower through Traitors Gate. and it was terrible. And that's where they used to hang the heads of the executed there to scare people. And oh God, it was awful. I left in 20 minutes. I was in Tower, London for a whole 20 minutes, and I've wanted to go there my entire life, but I couldn't do it. I could not do it.
Wow. If you guys ever get a chance to come to Central Texas, I know it's horrible to feel like that, but in Brenham, Texas, where they make all the great ice cream at.
Oh yeah.
There is a cemetery called what's the name of that cemetery? But anyway, that's where they buried in a mass grave where all the people that had the smallpox, if I'm right.
Oh.
Yeah, probably Spanish flu, because there were several mass graves for that up in Oklahoma where I grew up.
Yeah, dude. And I and I was talking to Deep Woods Paranormal, and they were looking for a place to investigate, and and I told them about that place, so they went over there and they had an investigation one night, and they said that's probably one of the most active places they've ever been to. They heard people crying, people whispering. It's just amazing how that place was. So if you guys ever get a chance, and if you ever want to experience something close to that, you probably want to go check out that cemetery in Brenham. It's a pretty cool place. Myself, I haven't had the opportunity to go over there, but I would love to get there. And I'm also worried about it. I'm always going through Brenham, going to Houston anyway. So I don't know why I just don't stop, for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes and just go check the place out. But
yeah.
but I think I'll do that the next time I'll get that opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Ricky.
Yes.
What kind of equipment do you use when you investigate?
The number one thing that I like to use is called Phasmabox, and it's only for window-based computers.
Okay.
And, it says it's for entertainment purposes only, but we've had a lot of success when I don't have equipment failure. A lot of times, if we're on a big case, you can just forget the equipment. I mean, your battery will drain, and you almost have to have an office set up to have everything properly. But we've always had very good experiences with the Phasmabox. I recall this one investigation we were at. I love these clients, and we had to go to their house several times. But Scott had mentioned that he took terrorism. He's majored in terrorism, counterterrorism, right? Counterterrorism.
Yeah, terrorism, counterterrorism from private military school.
Yeah, and we were saying something, and we weren't getting much activity, and you can always bust out with well, you're not talking much, so we're going to go. And then activity sometimes will pick up. And the spirit said in Russian, patience Russian, and was talking to Scott.
Yeah, they'll do that and refer to me as the Russian. And again, child of the Cold War, so that's my other language that we had to have to, for grad school and stuff, because everything was, if you were studying international relations, you studied Russian. Also know Arabic for like practicing some jinn magic, but also with the masters, international relations, terrorism, counterterrorism, you'll learn Arabic. So
right.
Call that out as well.
Yeah, several of them tried to speak Arabic to him because he knew what he majored in, but didn't think that it was a Cold War thing, thought it was a recent war. And so Phasmabox does a lot for us. And of course the millimeter, we use that too. And I have a recording device on my phone. So whenever we do use the Phasmabox, I put the recorder to the side of it so that we can go back and listen later, because sometimes when these things come across, you will either need to speed them up to understand them or slow them down. Or sometimes you don't catch what they say at all, and when you go back and re-listen to it on the recording, you could hear clearly what they're saying which you couldn't do before. So, and that's about all the equipment that I use.
Do you guys
equipment slightly different? Like we'll use it to make sure that if we're getting rid of something that it's actually gone. So walk to the place and make sure it's not just, oh, I see where you're hiding. Gotcha.
How do you guys feel about all these ghost apps that are on the internet these days? Do you guys ever use any of those?
I've played with some of them. I am hesitant because a lot of them are designed to give you a false positive. And that's where I'll see some people that want to play psychic, but they're not. And they'll pull up the ones that literally are just for entertainment only. And it is designed to give you nonsense that sounds, if you put it together in your head, you can make a story out of it. But it's just feeding you random junk. And every now and then maybe something will pop through the rest versus the Phasma box. This isn't one that Ricky and I had, but this is over Jefferson, Texas. And they have a Paracon over there. One of our mutual friends, Marie, one of her friends died. And that just ripped Marie up. And we were in Marie's hotel room over at the Jefferson, and her friend came through the Phasma box. Her voice. And Marie was freaking out, and we're trying to set up the bigger speaker so we can hear it more clearly. And long story short, one of Marie's friends and I end up on a frozen golf cart looking for extra cables so that we can hear things, and that's a story in and of itself. And,
wow.
And yeah, we're ghost cart paranormal. And but it's things like that let you know the ones that are real versus the ones that are fake. And some of them are designed to, like I said, they're designed to scare middle school kids.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
One time that I used about 10 years ago, and it was not that good. I mean, I didn't have a lot of success with it until I went to the Stanley Hotel. And it wasn't a communication thing like Phasma Box where you could hear them. All you could do is see text come up, right? And which was very interesting. I was in the bathtub and I just let it run in the other room. And then I went and did my stuff and then drove home and was home for about a week. And I went back and looked at everything. And there were things on that session that only I knew, that nobody else would know.
How do you feel about the Stanley? I've been there, and I think once again, Hollywood overhyped the place.
It's done. Just waiting on the
I probably was there. When did that movie come out? I was probably there back in 89, maybe. I think that movie came out, early 80s, maybe?
Oh, 70s. I think.
70s? Yeah. So,
early 80s because, Shelley Long and that hair.
Yeah, and that hair and that little wimpy-ass kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And those little, and those twins. And, I just think they overhyped that whole movie. But when I went there, and we actually spent the night in the parking lot because my uncle was a truck driver, and we were just hanging out. We were like, hey, let's go hang out at the Stanley. We were literally right down the street from it. I'm like, well, cool, dude. And back then we didn't have all the devices that we have now. You know what I'm saying? So basically, I just walked around and used my senses, my eyes, my ears, and my smell. And I really didn't sense or have that fear factor of anything that the movie portrayed, of other people, portrayed, that said that happened there. I just never got that feeling. It might have been just me, but different strokes for different folks. But
some nights things are active and some nights are not, and that's one of the things that usually throws people. Is I don't want to say they think it's like Harry Potter, in which it's mechanical and it always happens all the time at the same time all the way. But it's like whenever you're at a place in your psychic, you can sometimes feel the ghost pull back because they don't want to be bothered right now.
Yep.
The Stanley is it's beautiful. I mean,
Oh yeah,
it's
gorgeous place.
beautiful, old school hotel, classic. It's almost a classic Hollywood hotel in itself, aside from The Shining and everything else that went on there. It's kind of like the Baker Hotel in Mineral
Yes.
Wells, just very classic and a resort feel, a very elite. You feel elite by staying there. It's just a nice, nice, nice hotel. And of course, it's got the lovely view when you walk outside of the mountains. And, it's not air conditioned in the summertime. A lot of people don't know that, but it's so old that it's not air conditioned, and they haven't renovated it, I guess, because of the cost to put air conditioning in. They might not even be able to because the hotel's so old.
I think that would be a lot of money for them to do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, correct. But as far as I could feel, and I'm not, I am not super psychic. I'm not super medium. I'm not any of that. I could feel some strangeness there that was foreign to me, but nothing came out and bitch slapped me or, tried to jump in me or anything like that. It wasn't like that. It wasn't that blatant, It was just kind of like hovering there, just a strangeness.
Yeah.
But, yeah, great hotel.
The way I felt about the Stanley is the same way I felt about the Driscoll Hotel here in Austin.
Oh, yeah.
Most people say it's superly haunted, a lot of activity. But Scott, you might be right, because once again, on the day that we went there for the investigation, and we spent like maybe 3 hours on both sides, because there are two sides of that place. There's a much older side, the side that they renovated, and there's a side that they didn't renovate, where you can actually go and do a tour, and they can show you around. And we walked around that place like, man, are you kidding me? It's nothing here. I mean, it's too well lit, but back then it doesn't have to be well lit. And like you're saying, dude, if they want to do something, they'll do it. Whether it's light or dark. I don't know, man. It's just those two places right there. Kind of took the wow factor out of me, you know what I'm saying? Because I was going in there positive, that we can go in here and we can actually capture some evidence, but neither one. I didn't have any luck. Neither one of them.
Some of those ghost groups, whenever they go there, they'll employ like a lot of EV pumps and things like that try to make it a little bit more spicy. And that's something that you always have to kind of consider, is like, what are they adding to it? But yeah, there's sometimes it's just a location's not as hopping as it would be otherwise, and you can't really get on the spirits going like, hey, I came here and I expected a show. Why aren't you doing anything?
So, right.
Yeah, exactly. You need to come to the Baker. The Baker is one of those infamous hotels, like really big resort, classically done, celebrity laden back in the day. They have natural springs there, and they sell it. You can drink it in the store. It's called Crazy Water, and it's got 3 different levels of crazy or mineral content in it. And doesn't taste great, but you feel good afterwards. You really do. You feel better. But that place has been closed down and abandoned for years, and there's been talk of renovation and reopening it, and they are doing it now. It is under construction, under renovation. So,
now, do you guys believe in that once spirits, if you take a spirit out of a certain element and start reconstructing something, that it will generate more paranormal?
Oh yeah, especially if the place, because we've got this in some of the locations in which the spirits just really, they're in love with the place. Like, they love how it used to be. And when you start messing with their stuff, you're messing with their stuff. And that's really all it is. Because that's one thing I think
concerned. They're just living their spirit life.
people
Yep,
kind of get
that's
it. Be like, if you were in your home and some people moved in and acted like you weren't there, and then start throwing your crap away, what would you do?
Oh, I'll get pissed.
You start talking to them and they're not listening to you. Okay, you're going to start screaming at them and they're not listening to you. At some part, when are you going to throw something and like, oh, this is how ghosts behave?
I'll go drink their milk.
There you
That's
go.
right.
Smoke your cigarettes, damn it. That's what you do. But you get that all the time, man. It depends. It's like I've seen some places where they've done renovation, but like the Jefferson Hotel, they've done a lot of renovation over there, and it's a wonderfully haunted hotel. Can't say it enough. Jeremy Jones, a wonderful guy. But he loves that place as much as the spirits there love that place. And when you encounter the spirits there, they're not evil, nasty, horrible. They're people that love the old lady, because that's what they kind of refer to it as. And he loves it too, so he'll do things and make it funky, but he does it in the right spirit. So they don't do anything bad to him.
Yeah.
Versus someone that's, it's like the old movie Beetlejuice, because they're supposed to come out with the Beetlejuice too. Remember when the Deep family came in and just ripped up this very quaint home and made it all modern art.
Right.
Got to get a human exorcist now, because they're just messing up everything.
That is crazy. Yeah. I mean, we would like to get into places like that, but when we started NSPS TV Paranormal, our main goal was, we already know what's going on in these big places. Let's find out what's going on in these small places. Mm-hmm. Places where it's not an arm and a leg or an elbow or an eye or or a nose or a tongue to get into. You got to sacrifice all that. So that's, we rather go places where, it's free to get in and no other investigator has been to. And we've been to places like that. Did we lose Ricky?
She's coughing. She's got everything on.
I was coughing. Sorry.
And we've been to places like that. And, and the way we feel is our job there is not done yet. We still got a lot of places that we should get to, and hopefully, that we will. Like, we would love to go to South Texas, mm-hmm. and visit some of those abandoned missions that's been there since 1836. Time has took over them, with the state of Texas is not going to go spend a lot of money on preserving these things, So, I mean, I would love to just go down there and investigate those places, because a lot of those places is where Santa Ana has been through. There's a lot of history there, but, it's the kind of history that the state of Texas don't care about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's where we like to see ourselves. Just it's not that we don't want to go there. It's just that we feel like our job is not done yet doing what we set out to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we did not even do our first house investigation until a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I mean, and it was great. It was called A Haunting in Bastrop, Texas. And it brought to the season 2 for us. Now, dude, there was a lot of evidence in that house. So we're going to bring back in season 3, episode 1. That's what to keep people guessing and keep them wanting more and more and more of our, experiences as paranormal investigators. But dude, yeah. So our goal is to go out, venture out, find the unknown that no known paranormal investigator has even stepped foot on, and I think that we mostly achieved that. And, we like to keep going, you know what I'm saying? So it's, go ahead. Oh, I thought you guys were saying something.
Oh, well, it's a good thing what you're doing. That's like, that's needed. There's so many places it's kind of like, uncovered history. There's so much history that's never really mentioned, and so many stories that are never mentioned. And from like a medium standpoint, there's so many spirits that have stories that are never really mentioned or heard. So it's good to have someone that will listen to them.
Yeah. And it's weird because there's so much history here in Central Texas. Most people do not believe. If you guys was to see Texas on the map, where would you place that? Would you place us in the south, or would you place us southwest?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Texas is its own thing.
Yeah, because I would place Texas. It depends on what location. If you in East Texas, closer to the Louisiana, I would, I would kind of place that in East, in the South. But once you get into Central Texas, where it's a little bit more Western, it'll be Southwest. Well, people don't know that was actually a slave plantation here in Central Texas.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah.
I mean, and it was called the Sneed Plantation. It actually held probably about 100, maybe 200 slaves, and I actually found that plantation.
Oh wow!
Yeah, most people, and what's so crazy about it, it's actually surrounded around a community of high luxury apartments. So when you walk down the street and you see this big old house, or what used to be a house, people just walk by and it's like, man, that used to be a house, but not knowing what it actually was. And the ground that you're actually walking on, slaves actually lived on it.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it was crazy. And we actually did an investigation there, last year? And, it was quite amazing on the evidence that we caught. Mist, orbs, a lot of communication. There's a lot of things that, that you really didn't expect because it's been there for so long, and no other paranormal investigator been there, so you don't know what to expect. Because when you go to somewhere, and you're like, okay, well, the investigator's been here, we know what to expect this, we know what to expect that, but when you go there, you're like, totally different.
Is it abandoned? It's an abandoned mansion now?
Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah. It's definitely abandoned. If you guys know anything about, have you guys ever been down to the Austin area?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you guys familiar with it?
Somewhat, yes.
Okay. This plantation actually sits on the south side of Austin between William Cannon Drive and Stastny Boulevard.
Wow.
Yeah. And what's so crazy about the slave cemetery sits where the dividing line is 35. 35. So if you can imagine carrying a body between William Cannon, 3 miles to the slave cemetery, which sits over there on Todd Lane, right there by the Metropolitan Theater is now. Can you imagine carrying a loved one for that long dead? And it's just crazy, man, on how these people were treated, and just seeing what they went through. Actually, some of the because right across the street from the cemetery, from the plantation house is unmarked cemetery, and the way you can tell it's unmarked by certain stones that are in the grave.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe homeless people just walk right past it like it's nothing. They have no clue that is a cemetery.
The state should take and make that a historic.
Well, the state don't want to know the history. They don't want to.
That's unfortunately true. Yeah.
Terrible.
It's crazy. It's there, but the state don't want to. Nothing. And so that's gave me it gave me the drive to continue doing what we do is because when I went there and I like, dude, there's no way another personal, paranormal investigator has been here. I just can't see it, but it really pushes us to keep driving and keep discovering new places to investigate, so people that have been gone can tell their stories. And we did, well, it wasn't them because it was me at the time. I did have the opportunity to go over there and actually do an investigation at the slave cemetery.
Oh, wow.
And that, Scott and Ricky, that's when I met my first shadow figure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no way.
Yes way. The guy or whatever it was, it didn't bother me. It seemed like it was just curious on what I was doing there. And, first of all, he's probably saying, what the hell this black guy doing here, in my cemetery? And number one, he don't have shackles on him. Number two, he just looked like he's a free slave. That's probably what he or she was thinking, because that cemetery, I can say 100% of it were slaves.
Dang.
And what's so crazy about it, they had his last name. Most likely, when you got slaves, they're gonna carry your name.
Right.
Yes.
Sneed Plantation had, their names, and all of them were Sneeds over there.
Yeah.
And dude, he was just sitting back, poking behind the tree, standing there wondering what I was doing. And and I noticed him, but I like, well, if he's don't harm me or anything, I'm good. So I mean, like I said, he was probably just curious. And I walked along that cemetery, conversating, talking, trying to get communication from somebody. We got a couple of good feedbacks. He's like, I asked him, well, how old are you? Hey, one of them said, hey, I'm 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I am 16 years old. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send you guys a picture of that same cemetery.
Okay.
And I want you guys to tell me what you think. It's very, very, very distinctive on what's looking at me. So let me pull this picture up, see if I can find it first. Okay, here we go. So what I'm gonna have to do is go this route. Now, don't be shocked now for what you see. I'm gonna see if you guys can see it before I tell you on where it's at. All right, I just sent it to you, Scott and Ricky.
Gotcha.
Oh, wow.
Oh. Yeah, look at that.
That's legit.
That's very clear.
Is he not playing peekaboo with me or what?
Yeah, that's very clear. It's not like for people at home, there's not like you don't have to use your imagination to try to figure out what it is. It's just very clear.
Very clear.
It's very clear. And not only that, there's a lot of stuff going on in this picture. I mean, when you expand it, it looks like there could be others there too. Not as clear as that one, though. But there's some other stuff going on in this picture, I think.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
There is a young lady named A.M.O. Mariah. I think it might be Amaya Alexander. And
Amara.
Scott. Well, what's her name again? Amara.
Amara. Uh-huh.
Amara. Scott, can you see the question?
Oh no, what's it say?
Can you be a witch with the certifications like you have without believing in the traditional Wiccan
deities.
Yeah, Wiccan deities.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things you have, especially if you're studying the Larry Cabot's tradition, the first witchcraft ones, witchcraft is a science. The idea being the stuff works independent of faith. It's not like one of those things you have to believe in. Kind of like psychic abilities. You don't necessarily have to believe in it. You believe it enough, it happens. It just happens. But later on, after you do enough work with spirit and magic, you will start seeing it's not a matter of do you believe in deities, it's just they will show themselves. Kind of like with the spirits that you deal with as a paranormal investigator. It's not if you believe in them or not. One just taps you one day. One finds you and introduces itself.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, you don't have to have any faith in it. Again, occultism is not really in the truest sense, a faith-based kind of thing. We want a lot more proof.
Cool. You know what, guys? We've been talking so much about you guys for the last 2 hours. Is there anything you guys want to ask me? I mean, I think I'm a very much likable guy. You know, I'm sitting up here on a podcast with this hot dog hat on.
Honestly, do you ever wear costumes like that when you're out like investigating? Because that would be interesting if that would be like a trigger object for some spirit.
Well, if you was actually, yes. If you go back and look at my Atlanta investigation, Dead Man's Hole investigation, I actually had a banana on my head.
Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, I walked around with a banana the whole night. I actually got all those hats from Pleasure Pier in Galveston, Texas.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys ever been there, but pretty cool place. Yeah. So, anything else for me?
How big is your group that you have?
My group consists of 6 people. Mm-hmm. I have two investigators, including myself. Well, 5. I think about 5. Yeah, I got 2 investigators, myself, and 2 cameramen.
Okay.
That's it. We don't get no bigger than that. We figure if we start having 15, 30, 40 different people, and that runs into major problems, you're dealing with 40 to 50 different personalities.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and I can't handle personalities well. You know what I'm saying? How
much tech do you use? How reliant are you upon tech? Or are there certain like devices that you prefer over others that are your more tried and true things?
To be honest with you, we have a lot of motion balls. We use those a lot. And we use a lot of REM pods, different types of REM pods. Different types of REM pods for different types of investigation. If we feel like there's a kid involved, we've got teddy bears. We feel like, you know, they're elderly. We've got, you know, different types of boxes. But the one thing that I need to get is a little bit of what are those things called when they play music?
Oh, the music boxes.
A music box. You know, because people in those, you know, however far back, one thing I could actually say that they actually like is music.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I'm looking at buying one of those, and hopefully we will be successful. Well, you know, we try to keep our equipment small. Like we have a couple of K2 meters. I'm downsizing camera wise. Started off with 6, and I figured, oh hell, I don't need 6 cameras.
Right.
And so I'm thinking 2 to 3 will be sufficient. We also have I think it's a device called a Pythia. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Yeah, we have one of those in case we need to leave something stationary. It's able to track whatever it is that goes in front of it. We also have we also have what? Did she break off the group?
Yeah, I think let's see. Terry, I'm so sorry. Not sure what's coming up. It's thinking.
Yeah, right.
Connection.
Okay, I feel you. And we also have a let me show you what I got here. People look at this and just think it's just.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But this little bad boy can actually record audio.
That is.
And what's so crazy about it, Scott, when it records audio, you can actually, it'll come in as a certain color.
Very cool.
And it had a SIM card. So you can just basically live this somewhere and you can talk and it will, if something comes back through it, it would actually light up. You know what I'm saying? We also have a.
That's cool. I was going to make a joke about, yeah, it really affects the 70s ghosts.
Everybody should have one of these.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, everybody should have one of these because when you're in a cemetery and you want to catch that aerial view, what's the best place to do it? It was with one of these. We have a lot of little different gadgets that we try to work with, and just try to figure out whatever works best. And I know you're an older guy. You probably had this game when you was a kid. Simon Says.
Yes, those things are wonderful, and older spirits know what to do with it.
Exactly. So we're trying to put that in our, in our little thing of devices that we use. So hopefully we're able to get that done. It needs some twerking, some tweaking a little bit, and also we use GoPros.
Yes.
I think GoPros are good. I want to get a dog, so I can put a GoPro on a dog. Not for the simple fact of trying to be funny. Hey, Terry put a GoPro on a dog. But if you think about animals today, no matter what kind of animal it is, they have senses that we could never have, unless you are Riddick.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But having a dog with you on investigation, I think is great. Because they see, sense, hear things that we could never. And I always tell people that, hey, you guys should take your dog out on an investigation. I think you guys will have a lot of success with it, with him or he or she. But that's something I have to work on. I got 2 cats now. I feel funny putting a cat cam on a cat. You know what I'm saying? It's a good chance I might not get my GoPro back. You know what I'm saying? So, but otherwise then, dude, we're just a small town paranormal investigation team that's trying to do the right things, and, trying to have fun with it, but yet when it's time to get serious, we're ready to get serious.
That's great.
So that is our goal is, not to be one of the best paranormal investigators in Texas, but be the best paranormal investigators in Texas. That is our goal. We don't care how long. We got plenty of time to achieve that. And I know other paranormal investigators out there, that's their goal also, and we take on all challengers, man. I mean, if you feel like there's something that there's something out there that you guys can't handle, hey, well, I'm pretty sure we can do it, but not as far as your level now. I mean, just keep me. Hey, I'm right below that. Hey, I'm here to validate and tell you what you want to hear. There's something there. Now, if there's anything above that, I'll leave it for the big dogs. Guys like you.
That's one thing to always kind of remember. It's like we deal with clients that by and large they already know something's there. They just don't want it there right now.
So that's when we came into this, that was our goal, dude, just to help people enjoy the moment and just do the best job that we can do. You know what I'm saying? If there anybody else out there that wants to come join us, and think they can learn something, feel free, dude. You guys are more than welcome to reach out to us, and you guys can come along for the ride, and just see what paranormal investigators do. Because one thing I learned in all my short years is people think that investigators, we just go investigate it, bam, and that's it. No, there's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of things behind closed doors that you guys don't see that we do. We're up late at night and doing history on certain locations. We're contacting the people. People are contacting us, with their problems, and trying to figure out ways on how we can help them. And I was talking to Mr. Lemon my last podcast, and he was saying that how he has demons in his backyard and they come, harass him, and I'm like, well, to be honest with you, that's way out of my league. I mean, as much I would like to help you, but don't hang up so quick. Let me refer you to somebody else that can possibly help you, and I referred him to Matthew Bailey. Matthew Bailey, I don't know if you know him. Matthew Bailey is a witch also that deals in demonology. He deals with the dark arts. And he was like, well, get with me, off of podcast, and we see what we can do. So just by putting people's name out, dude, that really makes me feel really good, that I'm able to do that. So it's all about helping, you know what I'm saying? So, but Mr. Perry, I know you got things you got to do tonight, and I'm burning up in this damn hot dog outfit.
I was going to say, I was wondering how long you could wear it. Like,
I try to go to the whole night, and just keep it funny, But I've seen some of these paranormal podcasts, and they're so boring. I mean, I'm like, dude, you putting me to sleep. Shut the hell up. So I try to keep mine, informative, funny, ask 1,000,001 questions, and just go all out and just enjoy the moment. And I try to, tell my guests, feel free, be comfortable, drink a Coke, Dr. Pepper, Sprite, drink a beer if you want. I don't care. As long as you have fun and we can communicate and talk, that's what it's all about. And we learn something. And trust me, I learned more stuff today about witches than I've learned the whole month I've been trying to get a hold of you guys. So I really appreciate you coming on the show. Hey, matter of fact, you have my direct number now. Yeah. So feel free to give me a call, man, just to say hello,
Absolutely.
and all that good stuff. I'm here. I got, if you want to send me your phone number, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you guys coming on the show. I mean, Ricky, if you can see me or hear me, thank you for coming on with Mr. Perry. And you guys enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much. And if anyone needs to contact me or Ricky, again, just do a search for us on Facebook, Scott Perry, Ricky Ewing. We'll have our background picture. We'll have a picture of Texas Paranormal Recon, so you'll know who it is.
Okay. Are you on any other social media outlets?
Not really, because we really work hard to not be on those things. Like we get a lot of clients that want us because they know they're not going to end up on social media.
Right.
They respect their discretion, and I'm like a high school teacher, so it's like I'm not going to be posting things online that could be bad for my job as well.
I clearly understand that.
So it's like, it's not one of those things. Our businesses know what we do, but it's not like we're not trying to become Discovery Plus famous.
And what hospital do you go to?
Flying under the radar and getting a lot more word of mouth. Like our past clients are the ones that usually refer us to new clients.
All right. And what high school you teach at?
Oh, yeah, Little High School.
Huh?
They probably wouldn't like it if I said it out loud. So I just kind of like swallowed it real fast. It's in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Let's say that.
Okay, because you're from Denton. I thought you taught at Denton High or something.
Oh, no. We everyone in the Metroplex area, we kind of live in the area and just kind of commute around.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I am definitely in the Denton, Frisco area, or maybe in between.
Okay. I understand that one. Well, you know what, Mr. Scott? It's been a pleasure talking to you. Let's do it again. Like I said, you have my number. You can contact me.
If you want to do any topics over like just straight occultism or stuff like that, or Ethereum practice.
Yeah. I tried to even it out between, Ricky and the paranormal and you on your, occult or, you being a witch and all that stuff. But let's do it again.
Absolutely.
I would love to do it again. This time, maybe I'll have more questions focused just on you, because I'm really curious on you and what exactly you do, and all that stuff. So somewhere down the line, let's go ahead and set something up, and let's do this again, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us on. I hope you have a wonderful night, and I hope you escape the hot dog outfit at some part before it melts. Because man,
you know what happened to chocolate in the heat, right? You know what happened to chocolate in the heat? It melts, and I'm freaking melting right now.
I imagine you are.
All right. Hey, you have yourself a good evening. Hey, and if you're a father, enjoy it. Happy Father's Day.
No, I am alas not, but I have many kids that call me dad randomly when they don't call me mom. And that's a teacher joke, by the way. If you ever become a teacher, you'll have some kid that'll go like, "Hey, mom." Oh, wait, sorry, sir. Dad, no, Mr. Perry. Gotcha.
Well, I'm pretty sure I've done that plenty of times in high school, middle school. That was a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But anyway, hey, you enjoy yourself, brother.
Have a great night.
Call me anytime now.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a good night. Kitty, you don't get on somewhere, I'm going to shoot you. Go sit down. Go. All right, guys. Hey, that was Texas Paranormal Recon. A great group of guys and ladies that try to bring paranormal and Wicca all together. And they do investigations and they make it work. And that's what I like about those two. They make it work. I've learned a lot. I mean, I can really say that within the last two podcasts, I really had some great insight out there. So, hey, with enough said, if you guys are curious about becoming a paranormal investigator, or want to become a witch or a pagan or anything like that, hey, don't be afraid to reach out to these guys, because they definitely will reach back to you. You know what I'm saying? They would definitely reach back to you. They will help you out as much as they can, but in the meantime, I got to go get me something to eat, man. And I definitely got to get out of this damn costume I'm in. I've been burning up for the last hour or so. But in the meantime, hey, don't forget, guys, go hit that like, save, share, subscribe, all that stuff. You guys know what to do. Go hit those buttons. Let's get these numbers up, man. I'm at like 80 subscribers. On YouTube, dude, I should have like 2.5K. I really should be up there. I got like 2.3K followers on Facebook. Hey, let's get those numbers up on the YouTube channel also. It's free. All it takes is half a second to go hit that button. So if you guys can do me a favor and go do that, I will appreciate it. In the meantime, NSPS TV is signing off. Peace.